Ho ho, Shazbot! We're back for another Jesse Plays! This time we're taking you back into the past, to ancient China, woo, where men killed by the thousands, women were property, and air was filled with the sounds of wailing guitars and rock music, and giant dragon heads were all over the place, and, you know, the good old days. Who am I kidding? The women killed thousands too. Which sort of begs the question, how many people they got over there in China? I assume they'd run out after a while. Anyway, of course, we're talking about the free-to-play Dynasty Warriors Online. Now, I've got to be upfront with you guys on this. This is going to be an extremely lopsided and biased review. I have played every single one of these games, and it's sort of what you would call my guilty pleasure of gaming. Dynasty Warriors has essentially been like the exact same game since Dynasty Warriors 2, with tweaks and changes here and there, but let's be clear, the game is going to be, in the end, the exact same thing all the time, because it's historical, right? And that stuff don't change. Now, when I say historical, I suppose I should clarify a bit. It's not really historical. It's based off of a Chinese classical novel, Romance of the Three Kingdoms. So it's one of those based on a true story things. So sure, some of it happened, but the rest of it is completely made up. So for those of you who are curious on the story, because I know a lot of you guys are into background and lore and plot, let's take a look at that right now. In the last days of the Han Dynasty, three rival factions emerged to vie for control of China. Within each kingdom are heroes, hotties, badasses, and epic plots and betrayals. So really, there isn't a bad guy, but I'll break it down for you how I saw it when I first played way back in the day, and hopefully it'll explain the plot a little bit better to you. The first kingdom we're going to talk about is the Shu Han, aka Shu, aka the Green Guys. Led by Liu Bei, the kingdom of Shu is based off the virtues of justice and fighting for the people and creating a better world for them and restoring the Han. They definitely come off as the Western version of the good guys, and every one of their generals has that sort of good guy vibe. There's Zhao Yun, who is in every single Dynasty Warriors intro movie. He saves babies, he beats on villains, he fights for truth, justice, and the Shu way. There's other generals like Guan Yu and Zhang Fei and Hong Zhong. They all sort of have this heroic feel, and of course, Shu is blessed with this incredible tactician, Zhuge Liang, who joins Liu Bei because he sees in him this virtuous nature. Zhuge is even the guy who came up with the sort of divide and conquer three kingdom strategy. So as far as everyone is concerned, these are the heroes, right? Hell, they're certainly my favorite. And in a Western story, they would win. Well, in the novel, just like history, these guys get beat on bad. I know, right? Doesn't make any sense to me either. But lucky for us, this is just a game, and the ending is not set in historical stone, so these guys can actually win, which sort of makes me feel good. The next kingdom is the Cao Wei, aka the blue and purple guys. Led by Cao Cao and his son Cao Pi, to me, these guys always came off as the bad guys of the series, with characters like the plotting and traitorous Sima Yi, the vain Zheng He, the totally bitchy Zhen Ji. They just seem like the type of characters you'd associate with being the bad guys in a Western-style game or movie. I mean, look at their models. They even look evil. And their goal, of course, is to take over all of China and create an empire. That's sort of a bad guy thing to do, right? And so, of course, because the Chinese make no freaking sense, these are the guys who beat Shu in the novel. But follow me here, in a twist, Sima Yi's grandson, Sima Yan, overthrows the Wei Kingdom. So if I understand correctly, the worst of the bad guy's grandkid overthrows another bad guy to form a really great place for everyone to live? Yeah. The last kingdom is Eastern Wu, aka the Red Guys. Led by the Sun family and eventually controlled by Sun Quan and Sun Ce, these guys come off as the outlaw, freedom-seeking pirates of the game. They never really want to conquer much of anything and have this sort of leave-us-alone attitude, but in order to protect themselves, they engage with Wei to defend their northern border, ally with Shu, then betray Shu, and just do whatever the hell they feel like. Their story isn't all that terrific, but their characters are great. There's this super buff dude named Hong Gai, which is always good for a laugh. The warrior princess Xun Shang Jiang, Zhao Tai, this wannabe samurai guy, Gan Ning, this pirate lord. There's a lot of really great characters here. And if you played any of the previous Dynasty Warriors, they all come off as total badasses. The funny thing is, after Shu is destroyed and Wei is overthrown, these guys are the last left standing of the Three Kingdoms. And it's not until the guy who overthrows Wei comes down and takes him out lickety-split does the Three Kingdoms period actually end. And that is, as they say, that. The best part is, no matter how I described each kingdom or what I thought about them, someone is always going to have a differing opinion. These Three Kingdoms spark up such fanboyism in a lot of different people that everyone who's a Wei lover or a Wu lover will hate on me for being a Shu lover, which sounds really gay when you think about it. Anyway, with that said, that's my opinion, and I think I can safely say I've summed up about 6+ games in a fairly quick amount of time. Don't really think there's anything else to talk about. Oh, wait. We forgot this guy. Lu freaking Boo. Let's see if I can summarize Lu Bu for you. Imagine if Chuck Norris traveled back in time, impregnated a lion, and then that lion gave birth while fighting a Tyrannosaurus Rex. That's how Lu Bu came to be. If there was ever a character in any series that you loved to hate because he was just such a badass and kicked your ass all the time, it would be Lu Bu. Everyone hates this guy, everyone fears this guy, and everyone's out to get him, and you know what? He doesn't give a damn. Hell, he's the only guy in the entire series who has his own theme song. He lives to fight, he fights to die, and no one can kill him. The essence of badass. So now that you know a little bit about the backstory and the factions, let's get into the actual game. When you begin, you're guided through this character creation screen by this guy, Zhao Si, or Zhao... I have never been able to pronounce this guy's name. He's sort of this old magician character from some of the games, and as you can tell, while all the text is in English, the voices are still Japanese, which I'm actually very happy about. I'd rather they focus on trying to make the gameplay good, rather than hiring voice actors to do their thing, which sounds really counterproductive to my way of life, but, you know, when you're a gamer, you want the best for your game, not for your job, which, again, is my job playing. You know what? Let's just move on. After he instructs you what to do, you create a name, mine being Ancient Chinese for Jesse, wah wah, and then you select an origin. I still have no clue what your origin has to do with your character, but since I'm a sucker for Shu, I went with their main base. Now you enter a character creation screen where you can mess around a bit to create your perfect character, but there aren't really that many choices. It's sort of like the previous incarnations of create a character in some of the other Dynasty Warriors. Not really super in-depth, but enough there so you can sort of make it your own character. In fact, the best part of the whole character creation process is the voice of your character. I have no clue what they're saying, and that's what makes it so awesome. So I picked the one I thought was just the craziest sounding, and this is what I chose. After you confirm your character and server, you're given a map of the world, and it shows you sort of what's going on in the server you're about to join. And then you can choose your kingdom based off of that. For me, it didn't matter how the map looked and who controlled what, I was gonna go Shu the entire time. After an intro scene explaining what's going on in the world, you find out what your kingdom's goal is, and what your kingdom needs to defend. If you fail to defend it, you lose. Now when you enter the game for the first time, you're guided by several different characters through several battleground trainings and different scenarios to help you learn how to play. But if you're a straight G at this game like me, you rank S every time, and rather than force you to do all the training missions, you're propelled to the final test, which is awesome. The only problem is, there's some new aspects to this version of Dynasty Warriors that I did not know about, and it skipped me on them, and when I got to the final test, I got my ass kicked. Turns out, unlike previous Dynasty Warriors, where you collect items for power-ups, this time you collect items in the battle that you can then use to charge your weapon, defense, speed, whatever, making your character stronger. This is the only way you can defeat some of the bosses, the different challenges, and other players in that particular battle. Turns out, by skipping this part of the tutorial, I was kinda lost, and when it came to the final challenge, like I said, butt kicked. Luckily, I found out you can go back to all the tutorials you missed and learn anything you didn't, and use that knowledge to beat that final training exercise. That was a relief. So, once you pass the test and progress to the guard rank, you're now allowed to select a general to follow. Of course, I went with Zhao Yun, the superhero badass. Let the haters hate. And of course, for anyone who wants to go another general, by all means, there are many to choose from, and they actually think you can unlock more as you take different zones. I'm not too sure on that though, so don't quote me. You then can also complete daily quests where you go around and talk to different generals and do stuff in town. You can collect different weapons, and there are dozens of styles to choose from, and you can store them in your little house area, which is a whole other thing to talk about, which is really cool, but I didn't really spend too much time on that because I figured, you know, a house is a house is a house. It's really not too different in most games. You buy furniture, you put it in there, etc, etc. I have a weapon rack that can store 3 weapons, so I can have 3 different weapons, but I went with 3 spears because I wanted to have different elemental buffs on each of the spears, and so yeah, you can have other weapons though. As for the game itself, it's essentially like every other Dynasty Warriors you have ever played. The missions and quests take place on a map, with various events taking place in them, and you have to save your troops in your forts and defeat generals and players and all sorts of different things. If you've ever played a Dynasty Warriors game before, this will be second nature to you. The only difference is now you're leveling a character of your own, completing your own quests, finding your own lieutenants, furnishing your own home, and doing all sorts of different stuff to help your town and your kingdom. Speaking of town, your town is actually pretty big. You can run around through it and check out the different things, talk to different guards, there's reputations to earn, all sorts of different stuff. And I think there might be other towns, but I'm not really sure because I couldn't get out of the one I was at because I think they were hinting that I was too low of a level because I was only a guard rank, so I couldn't leave yet. I'm not sure though, so again, don't quote me on it. But again, the stuff in the towns is relatively minor, and most of the game takes place in sort of PvP style battles, where while you don't necessarily have to fight an enemy player, you are given additional benefits for doing so. When you first create a game, you have the option to wait for enemy players or not. If you do, you can earn bonus points and rep and all sorts of cool stuff. If you don't, you can still farm items and the like, but you do relatively little to help your nation. The biggest issue I have is sometimes you end up waiting forever for someone to join a game, especially if you have 3 allies with you already, and no enemy wants to join to fight you because they're afraid it's going to end up being 4 versus 1 when the wait timer runs out. So what happens a lot is you have lopsided battles, or you end up just doing it solo by yourself, which, you know what, it's actually kind of fun because you have to watch your back, and it's really challenging, I'll give it that. Now, as you can see, after a short period of time, you start to gain better gear and look like, you know, an actual warrior, and you can do stuff like go into the market and buy more gear, or go to the auction house, dye your gear, repair it, equip elemental gems, all sorts of stuff. And if you spend some real-world money, you can buy improvements and new furniture for your house. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are wondering what the community's like, and I guess this one shot will explain it all. I mean, it's just like any other. Lots of inane gibberish and people talking over each other, and just fun. You know, it's an online game. Community is what makes it work, and this community is pretty vibrant. It's fun. Anyway, if I had to sum the game up, I would say it's exactly like all the other Dynasty Warriors you have played, except, you know, online with other people. If you liked those, you will love this. The music is still badass, the game is still a relaxing way to blow off steam. Nothing ends the day of being trolled by haters on YouTube or being harassed by gold sellers than slaughtering 1,000 screaming Chinese dudes. All in all, it's pretty fun. If you love Dynasty Warriors like me, this game is a joy. If you didn't like the single player ones or you've never tried it before, you know what, you may get bored easy, I don't know, but it's free, so what the hell do you have to lose? You should try it, and you just might like it. Anyway, guys, that's it. Thanks for watching. Thumbs up, subscribe. Check out all the other Jesse plays in the playlist to the right and the YouTube's menu junk stuff over there. And as always, to be continued.